I keep saying business software maker, but really they're all about the cloud right now. I mean, that's the main business.
That's where the growth is, and that's where the competition is. And so when people look at what Oracle's doing right now, they really want to see how they're comparing to the new way that software is being purchased. Because that dramatic shift of buying a packaged software and buying it with a seat license is changing to sort of using it when you want to use it and paying for it as it goes. And it's something really pioneered by Salesforce, and Oracle wants to show they're competing well against Salesforce. And these numbers kind of show us that they are stock selling a little bit off after hours, but the numbers they put up for their cloud revenue, $1.5 billion in the quarter, that's an extraordinarily large number given where they came from in this business.
So what are we saying here? The good news was just in the price.
Well, I think the expectation here is kind of what we're getting from them, and that they're really focused on is sort of where their growth business is happening, and 55% growth in cloud is fantastic for them on a year-over-year basis, and it's a very big business growing at a very fast pace. It's what we've seen across the board from the software as a service providers, but Oracle's right up there with them, and they really came from far behind.
Mark Hurd was widely quoted back in October as saying that they could win the cloud wars versus Amazon Web Services. Can you do a compare and contrast?
Their cloud services business, their very specific sort of hosting stuff and letting companies run their business is much smaller than Amazon's right there. But this is an interesting challenge here because Oracle, the business of providing services and hosting stuff is a pretty low margin thing. Right. Ultimately, it ought to be. But what we've seen is that the growth is so big that even companies like Amazon that don't seem to care much about price are able to command margin. But really the great leaders in that business have been Amazon and Microsoft and everybody else. And Oracle's still in the everybody else world with, competing with Google and competing with IBM. But what's interesting is that the great breadth of services Amazon Web Services is offering is really interesting. Product announcements almost weekly from these guys, and something else that somebody else is going to want.
I'm reading that Piper Jaffray said that sentiment for Oracle stock remains neutral, but some investors are expecting incremental M&A. And it looks like Oracle has not made a purchase since April 18th. That's a long period of dormancy.
We actually had Mark Hurd on Bloomberg Radio down the hall just a few weeks ago. He was here in the neighborhood for a meeting, and I convinced him to come into the radio booth. I said, he sat down, I said, what about M&A? He said, really, Cory? I just sat down, you're going to ask me about M&A? And what they said in the last call, and Mark Hurd repeated it for Bloomberg Radio just a couple weeks ago, is that a lot of the best deals are gone, and they don't think there's a lot of things out there for them to acquire right now. So a seller is going to have to convince them to be a buyer.